Okay, we're going to give a quick overview of the abilities. So feel free to go to GWL Pixel, RPG, open it up, go to scenes, and let's open the demo scene. You'll see something like this in front of you. In the demo scene here, let's just click on our player, because that's an ability user. We scroll down, and we'll find something ability user. So here's where we begin. So anything you want to use the abilities, you could attach this script to, and then give it a controller. So let's click on the controller and take a look what it is. It's a scriptable object. It's found under Data, Abilities, Controllers. Now I selected it here, and I increase my window so I can see the inspector larger here. So you see we have the name and auto assign, pretty familiar stuff. And then you could assign starting abilities, equipped capped. So this is the most you could have like on your hotbar to use right away. And this is learned. So these are skills that you swap in and out onto your hotbar. And these are their respective caps you can set. So this ability controller is the thing that checks to make sure ability can be used. It'll start casting it. It'll keep track of cooldowns and delays. It's what the name says. It controls it. So let's take a look at the abilities themselves. We'll just go to Fireball, click that here, and then I'm going to scroll up here. We take a look at Fireball. So this is also under Data, Abilities, but this is Ability. You see the ones that are included. These are just generic abilities, but here's Fireball. So all abilities have these things, right? The config file, the name, the description, damage multiplier, range, resource, and its cost, trigger and index, and logics and category. So take a look at these. Damage multiplier here. It's just right, multiplier 1 times, 2 times, 3 times effect to the overall damage. Range is how far furthest you can cast it at, right? Resource cost and then resource. So you could set those here. Now animation trigger refers to the animator that comes included. So I already see that we have movement and an ability. So this is our trigger. It'll activate this. And if I double click into here, then you'll see these are the different ability indexes. So I'll click back on Fireball. So when we're in here now, this is going to do animation index 1, so ability 01. So to increase your ability animations here, you just duplicate one of these, and then the transition arrow, you'll change it to equals to the new number, equal 4, equal 3, 2, 1, 0. Right? 4 or 5 actually comes included. And if you need more, just duplicate and set the transition arrow. Back to Fireball. So that's the trigger and the index. And then the logics. So this is, you could think of as the gameplay behavior. We could click on Fireball. These things are interchangeable. The Fireball logic, you could think of it, this is a generic logic for a projectile. So you see it comes with the projectile prefab that will be instantiated when you start the ability. And if you want some kind of start offset to it, you could duplicate this if you like, right? Rename it something else. You could do ice ball. And then instead of Fireball here, you would put your prefab for the ice ball. And then under ability here, you would switch the ability logic then to ice ball. And if you want, you could have them shoot a fire and an ice ball, because you can set more than one by setting the size larger than 1. And then lastly, there's the category. So these act very similar to the ORs, where the category limits which abilities can be used at a time. So if this category is in category 1 and so is my Glowy Fist, that means only one of those can be used at a time. However, if I were to move Glowy Fist to 2, then that means I could use Fireball and Glowy Fist abilities at the same time. It'll ignore the cooldowns. Which then brings us to the cooldown here. So you can add a cooldown. I recommend doing that. And this then you could do, this is in seconds, cooldown rate. And that's how long you gotta wait until you could cast the ability or an ability in this category again. A delay is then the delay before it actually starts running the gameplay logic here. So you might want to put the delay like I have here to time out with animations. Okay, so let's look at Glowy Fists, just because this is kind of like the default melee one that I put in the project here. You see there's no resource. Its ability, it's the 0 ability index, and it's got this demo Glowy Fist. So we're going to take a look at this. This is the logic, and this is melee combat logic. So let's open it up and we'll briefly go over it, and that'll be the ability system. So I'm going to double click to go to the script and to open it here so we can see what's inside. So this melee combat logic inherits from ability logic. So if we go here, and if you want to make your own abilities, you just inherit from this abstract class. It'll be a scriptable object. So you'll probably want some create asset menu on the type that you want to create here. And then you code in your logic. So in this case here, I'm checking, are we a melee user that used our ability? If we are, continue on. Do we have a VFX prefab here? If we do, make it. And if we set it to parent, then also parent it to our melee transform. Then it's going to find our damage dealer. So that's the I do damage interface if it has one of those. If it does have one of those, then it's going to enable it and set our attribute user to that damage. And then the endcast, so when the ability is done with, basically, are we a melee ability that's asking to endcast? If we are, then move on, find it in our dictionary. If we do find it in our dictionary, then disable the damage component. And then if you take a look, right, this ability logic also comes with projectile logic included here. So all this is, hey, am I a projectile user? If I am, go on, create the projectile. So the lifetime is actually determined on the projectile itself. This thing doesn't know about that. And then similarly, hey, does this projectile have an I do damage? If it does, then go ahead and set it. There is no endcast logic because we just create the projectile. There's nothing we do at the end of it. If we wanted to do something here, raise events, we could, no big deal. And then this is just a protected one, what I'm doing, just instantiating an instance of this prefab. And lastly, the other logic that's included is status changes. So there's a bunch of status changes in here. We're not going to go over them, but some of them are included in examples in the package. But it does is it just goes through the different status changes and then goes ahead and applies them or removes them. So this could be like dots, damage over times, or buffs, or debuffs. Okay, and then that's the gist of the ability system. Thank you.